morning. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. That's the OAT. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater and spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about our organization, Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That will take you to our homepage where you'll see the frequencies that we operate on and a little bit about the club. Also on the front page is a link for streaming, and we stream our nets on YouTube on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. So if you're interested in seeing what we look like, you can go there. As for audio, we use the 08 machine thanks to the SeaTac Repeater Association. It allows us to use WW7STR 14808, commonly known as the 08 machine, and that carries our audio for our nets for our video. Also, there's a tone of 103.5 if you're dialing in 14708, listening in. So with that, I'll take a pause in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact with somebody on the 08 machine before our net gets totally underway. This is Dave, KD7CYM. And again, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. So far, checked in via video link is Ron, KD7QKU, Bob, K9PQ, Richard, K7ITX, that's Richard, K7ITX, and we have Jim, N7QO, and myself, Dave, KD7CYM. If there's anybody else that'd like to join in on that this evening. Hearing none, let's start off the net tonight with Ron, KD7QKU in Tacoma.
Okay, well thank you very much, Dave. This is Ron, KD7QKU, and yes, I do live in Tacoma. What was I going to start off with? I don't know. The thing probably foremost in my mind is our sick cat. I don't know if I told Richard about our cat today, but our cat's been in the hospital since Sunday afternoon. And I was telling Dave, they finally came around to my way of thinking, and they decided now she has pancreatitis. I've been saying that for at least 5 years. Every time she has these little attacks, I read about what she does. It fits the picture exactly, and so we take her to the emergency hospital over in Gig Harbor Sunday afternoon, and they diagnosed her as pancreatitis. So anyway, that doesn't mean much, but there's not much treatment for it, and they give them a little bit of antibiotics and a lot of fluid, and right now they've just put we went over twice to feed her yesterday and today, and they put a feeding tube down her nose this morning. They think if they get some stuff in her stomach, she'll start eating. She kind of wants to eat, but doesn't. Part of the problem with pancreatitis is they throw up so much they get dehydrated, and we let her go too long this time, unfortunately. But anyway, so you can bet that if she recovers and comes home, like we're hopeful, the next time she even looks like she's throwing up, we're taking her to the vet to get fluid put in her, that's for sure. So anyway, that's what's going on here. Let me let her drop. Maybe a few more people will show up. So it's nice to see everybody. Was bored to death today. I tried to call Richard, he didn't answer the phone. I tried to call my friend down in Boise, he didn't answer the phone. Last time I talked to my friend in Boise, he broke his foot, and it's all doctor, and maybe they'll do something to it. I don't know. But anyway, he was in pain and putting ice on it and stuff. And he doesn't like to sit down like he's supposed to, so he was having a tough time. So and then Richard called me back, and I had a nice visit with Richard. But in the meantime, I had texted my son and said, okay, well, no one wants to talk today, so I guess you're stuck with me. So we texted back and forth for at least a half an hour. And we talked about everything from the end of the world to, I don't know if any of you ever read a guy's book, Hal Lindsey. He's a Christian, and probably 10 or 15 years ago, he seemed to be big on the end of the world. But Mike reminded me, I did read one or two of his books. I think they were paperbacks. I don't know, never to get too excited about them. But anyway. So, and then I think tonight he's pulling the motor out of his boat. I think his stepson is coming over to help him. And then I brought it to his attention about the oil. He didn't want to hear about it, but I told him he should, so I don't know. They changed, motor oil quite a few years ago and taken all the slickum out of them that the old motors needed. And so I ruined a motor, a V8 in my Mustang. Let me let it drop. Into these machines, well, actually, I had trouble with the motor twice. And the second time, Ron and Mike both told me I needed my valves adjusted. Well, they wouldn't adjust. So anyway, I threw in the towel. I'd had this motor apart almost twice, at least the majority of it. So I'd taken it over to these guys and rented at this machine shop to build hot rod engines, and I said, here it is. I want a 302 balance ported, blueprinted, whatever you have to do to get it to 300 horsepower. So I told them I just had a terrible time with this engine, and I don't know what's wrong. So they told me later. They called me and said, well, we can tell you what's wrong. You're using the wrong oil in it. The oil you put in it doesn't have the slickum that these old motors need. They were used to a paraffin-based motor with a lot of whatever zinc in it and a whole bunch of other stuff. And these new oils are more like transmission fluid, and so they don't lubricate. So the lifters are all scoured out on the bottom, and the cam is no good in it, and that's why you couldn't adjust the valves, because it wasn't getting lubrication. So they said, when we send this motor home, you're going to put royal blue, royal purple, I guess it is, or you're going to use Shell Rotilla. It has the slickum and the lubrication that these engines need. Now I think more people make it, but anyway. So that was my story on that. So I'm wondering if Mike's engine kind of sounds like maybe the same thing happened to it to me. So anyway, back to that. I've jumped on enough subject. KD7QKU. 7QKU, Ron, thanks for that. The net acknowledges Jessica, KF7UHK, and Lee, N7KC, has joined the net this evening. So let's go to Jessica, KF7UHK.
KF7UHK up here in Everett. The only thing I know about oil right now is I'm cooking some hot stickers and some hot oil on the stove, so I may go take care of that a little bit for dinner. I just got home. I drove what's called the 90X today, which is from Mount Vernon to Everett. It's an express route, and I only did the last part of the day because I was on call, and I get this on call just when I'm putting some stuff into my shopping basket over at Freddy's, and all of a sudden it's like, come on Sylvia, we gotta go, I gotta drop you off, you gotta go to work, and I gotta go to work too. So it was a lot of fun. There was a really bad accident on I-5 southbound by the Arlington exit, and it took me probably 25 minutes to get past that in stop-and-go traffic in a 40-foot bus. And that's what when you do these express routes, they're always 40-footers because there's usually a bunch of people on them. So that was my exciting afternoon, and then tomorrow I get to do half a day of a para route, picking up people at their private residences and dropping them off at doctor's offices. And then the other half I'm going to do more 90X route So it should be a very busy day, and I'll be just exhausted by tomorrow afternoon. I'm sure my brain will be exploding. So with that, I'm going to pass it back. KF7, GHK.
This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. So let's go to Port Angeles to Mr. Lee, N7KC.
Okay, we'll give her a try here. N7KC, Lee in Port Angeles. I'm assuming I'm in. Okay, Richard says yes. Well, good evening, everybody. I don't really have a lot. After 15 years of owning a wind generator, I decided I'm going to put it up here. And, to save me out here, I could not find a column that I could set on properly. It needed to be 1.875 to 1.9. And so I went a lot of places, measured conduits and this and that and so forth, all that. And then I thought, well, why not just get it from Online Metals, over in Ballard there. It's a pretty nice operation. I won't claim you won't pay a little bit for what you buy there, but it's nice to be able to get anything, and I did. I got a 6-foot piece. It was about midnight, night before last, when I ordered it, and it showed up today. 6 feet's a little bit too long for the tripod I have, so I have to whack it down a little bit, but nice to get that. And I guess maybe I said I got a tree climber lined up to put my 2 pulleys at 90 feet here for my new 80-meter dipole, folded dipole that I'm going to put up. Been working on the old shed still, and that's coming along pretty well. I find that working in the direct sun over here is today was just too hot. Probably tomorrow too. So I did things that were in the shade. But I need to be cutting a few more pieces for the floor, and I just couldn't do it. I just can't take that direct sun. And the only place I can do it is in a driveway where I can set up the sawhorses and everything to cut the pieces out of the 4x8 sheets of CDX. So, I'm wondering, Jessica, I guess she's probably not there right now, but do they, I wonder, let you put the buses in a skid or anything when you're learning to drive them to know what a bus does if it gets loose? That would be very interesting. I'll bet they're pretty careful about that, but I think that would be quite an interesting thing, to deliberately lock the wheels, this and that, and so forth. With that, back to you, Dave. This is N7KC, Lee in Port Angeles.
KC, thanks for that, Lee. Both Jessica and you, images are frozen on Zoom. I don't know why tonight, but that's information to pass on. The audio came through fine. So let's move on down to Bob, T9PQ.
Aren't frozen for me. I don't know about anybody else, but they look fine on Zoom to me. Ron, I'm real sorry to hear about your cat. I'm going to look up pancreatitis so that in case my cat is showing symptoms, I will know. But she's had some problems that are getting better. Just out of the blue one day, she was favoring her right foreleg, and she was having some trouble with stability with her hindquarters, and I never have figured out what it was. I think she took a spill or something that hurt her a little bit, but it's never been very bad. She didn't seem to be suffering or anything like that, just having a little trouble. I think she's fine. And I forgot to switch myself in. I was doing some things last minute, so I'm afraid my video didn't get switched in this time. I'll have to get it next time. Sorry, I just noticed. And Lee, good for
for you on the wind generator. I'll be interested to know. I'm trying to remember. To visit you if it's very breezy where you are. I know you're really near the straits where it's very breezy all the time, just about, I guess. I'll be interested to know, how much wind gets, how much the wind will power your generator, how that's going to work out. Okay, I think that's good for now. I'll send it back. Okay, I thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Let's go on to Richard, K7ITX.
Hey, well, I hope everyone can hear me okay. All right, great. All right, so, of course, I was in Long Beach, Washington last week, and showed you a couple of videos. I actually have, I don't want to belabor you with, home movies, so to speak, but I have a couple of interesting videos that are very unique. So I'll put the microphone down and you'll see the kites at night. Followed up. Let's try one more idea. Yeah, okay, that might do it. Let's see. I don't do this often enough. All right, yeah, maybe that'll work. 1 second here. Kites at night, and I'll have another interesting situation coming up on the next time around. With that, KD7ZYM, K7ITX, back to net control.
ITX, that was interesting. See, did you have to use lights to get that? But anyway, they showed up pretty good against the black sky. Let's move on down the line. Coming up is Jim, N7QO.
Thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Dick, yeah, cool pictures. I was a little curious about that myself. My picture looks very dark. It looked like the kites were internally illuminated. However, I saw the tails pretty clearly as well, so not exactly sure about that unless they were using some sort of fiber optics. Don't know about that, but that looked pretty cool, thanks. Ron, sick cat. Pancreatitis, man. I don't know, that's definitely a
life-threatening. Keep an eye on your cat there. And I lost track a little bit. You said use Royal something oil. Could you mention once again what that is that we need? Lee wind generator. Yeah, good deal. That's kind of been on my list for a couple of decades. I'm not sure I'm going to get to it within the next decade, but it's certainly on my wish list. Jessica, my goodness, busy. I saw on television they are reporting a shortage of school bus drivers. Just curious if you know anything about that, specifically like regarding pay, maybe how they work. Do they work a little in the morning and then a little in the afternoon and have most of the day off, or wonder how that works. And Bob, just curious about Sparky. How old is Sparky? Wonder if it might be arthritis. My doctor said something that arthritis can affect a joint here and a joint there, and it usually takes a number of years to progress. I don't know. We're all getting older. Back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
7QO, exciting time again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Let's go to James, WU7N in Bellevue.
Okay, let's see. I'm trying a little different antenna arrangement tonight with lower power. How am I doing tonight?
Good.
Let's see, wind generator. Well, Lee, this sounds like we need to see some pictures when you get this thing out. This sounds like a pretty ambitious project. Also curious to know what kind of power you're generating. I'm going to assume it's probably bigger than a little beanie I wear on my head, but probably a lot smaller than those 737 wing ones out in eastern Washington. So it's probably somewhere in between those two sizes. I'd love to see what it is. Thank you very much for the video. I think it would be an interesting weight study to figure out, is it better for weight to have batteries on the kite or to run two little wires up there? And if so, what gauge would the wire have to be? I knew somebody who did kites. I've lost touch with him, but I was kind of stunned at how expensive. He was buying the kites from some craftsperson that made them. I was kind of stunned how expensive they were, and I joked with him, anything that expensive, I need to climb in it and fly around in it myself. And Ron, thank you very much for the pointer on the older engines. I remember putting Slick 50, which contained PTFE, a lubricant that was used in space shuttle engines back in the 80s and 90s, and it really did a good job with an engine that still turns over. Nothing else on the truck works, but the engine still turns over. It's kind of amazing what that did. Apparently it burnishes into the metal. And I remember when it first came out, they had a warning that you weren't supposed to use it until cars had a certain number of miles on them, because they said it will not allow the engine to break in. It was too slippery slick. So I don't know, that's just a thought. Here too, Lee, when you get the 80-meter antenna actually up and working, let me know, because I want to see if you and I could actually hear CW signals between each other with the distance we are. Jessica, on-call sounds like on-demand. It sounds like you picked a good thing to do for a retirement job there, and I was just curious, is that on-call for like the people that needed the medical assist, or is that on-call for a normal bus? Anyway, I was curious about that. So that's about it for me. I did a project, and I actually timed myself today. I said, well, this should take about 15 minutes, and I laughed. I said, okay, I got to time myself now that my brain even thought of that. An hour and 22 minutes later, I was done, and I now have a very, very sore back. So more on that later. This is WU7N with Uniform 7 November in Northeast Bellevue.
WU7N, thanks for that. This is Dave, KD7CYM in Lake City. I've got 76 degrees outside, so it's down a little bit today. I did get out this afternoon to meet with an old college buddy and had lunch, and we were kind of chatting around, asking what he's done. He's a retired dentist, and he just picked up his general license this last year, and I said, wow, you making contacts? And he said, no, I'm pursuing an extra at this point. And I said, well, aren't you going to get on the air? He says, no, I'm just doing this to learn and keep my mind active. So anyway, some people get licenses for different reasons, I guess. So anyway, he's just enlightening his mind, as they say. He's getting older. It just keeps him on top of things, doing things by studying and taking exams. But the interesting thing that I had was talking with him. And he was on his second Tesla, and I said, oh my, tell me about that. And he said, well, the Tesla that I had, there was a truck in front of me on I-5, and it lost its load. And the load fell down in front of me on the freeway, and it sideswiped me. And it set off 4 airbags in the car, one for me, one for my wife, and the 2 dogs in the back. And took it in for repair. But he said the interesting thing was within 30 seconds his phone rang, and the electronics in the Tesla had notified Tesla that he was in an accident, and they wanted to know how he was. And he said no injuries resulted from it, but he did take his Tesla in for repair in Seattle, and they ended up totaling it. And I said, what? And he says, yeah, it just had a little damage on the outside, on the driver's side, but the 4 bags went off, and he said their estimate for damage inside the vehicle and replacement of the airbags was $8,000 per airbag. So there was 4 airbags involved, plus the body work on the outside, so they decided to total it, so they gave him a brand new Tesla with the insurance settlement on that. So he's on number 2 and trying to avoid trucks on the freeway. So that was an interesting story, I thought. Who would think that somebody could total a Tesla and the expense for airbags? So that's my story. This is Dave, KD7ZYM. So let's go up to Ron, KD7QKU.
Thanks, Dave. KD7ZYM in the group, KD7QKU here. Well, I guess I'll start off. Jim in Covington. Royal Purple was the brand name of the oil. And I think at one time it was kind of used by people that race cars. I really never saw it. I really never bought any. But then the Shell Rotilla, it was for diesel trucks, pickups and stuff. So once upon a time, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I think somebody maybe brought it up, maybe James brought it up, STP. So it came out, I don't know, probably when I was maybe in high school or just married or something. And I remember that you could take a slotted screwdriver, you know how they taper down to where the bit is? You could dip it in STP, and the salesman would challenge you to hold it, you know, in your hands. You couldn't do it. You couldn't squeeze it hard enough. It was so slick it would slide out. So that was how they said it would lubricate your engine. So anyway. And Lee, I'm wondering where you're going to put your wind generator. If you said I didn't hear it. If you're going to put it on the roof of the house or on your shed or front yard, where are you going to put it? And, you were asking. So a long time ago, I went through the bus driver training because I, worked at Metro. And they didn't have us do a skid on a wet pavement or anything. But they did have, on the old buses then, they had sandboxes that were in front of the rear tires, and they had a tube that came down in front of each rear tire. And they filled them with sand at night when they cleaned them and put fuel in them. I don't know, they checked them in the summertime. I never had to use a sandbox, so I don't know. And I can't remember, they must be electric. I can't remember if they were electric or manual, but I would assume they're electric. And I don't know if the new buses would have them or not. So what else? I missed the video, Jim. Richard. I was looking at the screen and I thought you were going to say I got it or something. other little laptop, it was over. So I missed the majority of it. Darn it, that's too bad. So anyway, and Dave was talking about the wrecked Tesla. That's really something. They would total it for that. Amazing. All right. So I guess that's enough. Back to that, Katie. Oh, and then yeah, Bob, your cat, Sparky. I think that's her name, isn't it? I just drew a blank for a second. Yeah, I'm like Jim. I would think it would be maybe a little bit of arthritis. I don't know how old she is, but anyway. So anyway, I hope she gets over that. Back to that, Katie. So, excuse me, QKU.
Thanks for that. And for ID, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. So let's go to Jessica, KF7UHK, and I have a question. Sylvie was going to go work on Air Force One. Is that still going to be happening this fall?
Question, I think they canceled that whole idea for a couple of years. I think they're putting it off. But on buses, yeah, no, I'm glad we didn't, get too deeply involved with that idea because we had all sorts of plans. On these buses, there's a system called OnSpot, O-N-Spot, and you click this button and a set of chains come down and spin around underneath your back tires so that if you're snow, you don't have to have chains on it, but these chains swing around underneath the tires as you mosey along, and that's pretty cool. I have not seen that work yet because I haven't been there for the winter time, but that's a system they have for snow. For school buses, I think you just need another endorsement that says you're going to have children on. My endorsement, I think, says I'm going to have a bus with only one axle as opposed to an 18-wheeler that has more than one axle, and I can have more than 16 people on the bus, and that's what my endorsement says I can do. So that's pretty cool. I break here. Question about my on-callness. I've been having two on-calls a week, which means, and I'm on call number 2, which means I'll call the first person first. If there's people that don't show up, or people are sick, or someone retired that day, or all of a sudden they have an empty hole in the schedule, they'll call someone like me or one of the other on-call people. Luckily, we don't run through the night, so they're not crazy and calling me at 3 in the morning telling me I've got a job to do. Like today, came in at like 1:30 in the afternoon, so I'm quite awake, ready to go, uniform ready, and they give you 2 hours to get there. Plus, on an on-call day, if they don't call you, you still get 2 hours of pay. If they do call you, you get 2 hours on top of what you worked. So I worked about 4 hours, plus I got my 2 hours extra. Can't beat that with a stick. So, there you go. This is KF7UHK.
UHK. Let's go to Lee, N7KC.
Okay, very good. Well, N7KC, Lee in Port Angeles. Thank you, Dave. Okay, STP and Barnall and Slick 50 and all that stuff. Yep, way back when, every time I changed oil on our Volkswagens, I would put in a little container of STP. I don't think it was a pint. Might have been. It was about that size. A little metal can, real pretty. Painted up real nice. And that was supposed to be the thing to do. And then I was told by, I had one of the engines in, like Ron, I took the parts to a balancing shop down in Tukwila, and I rebuilt one of them once, and I had all the moving pieces dynamically balanced. And they said, "Hey, you use an STP in that thing?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, the thing you need to know is that it creases the bearings." So I said, "Oh no, not really." But I've got a Coleman generator here, gas generator. It's a kilowatt job, 1,200 watts peak, And about 20 years ago, or 25, I put the whale additive in that. It's real slick that they say you never have to do it again, and I haven't. But I don't use it very often, but it always just starts right up on the first pull. You know, I don't use it. It hasn't been run over here in 5 years, easy. Yeah, Paula got a license, she's got an extra class, and she did all of the stuff. She did the technician, and then she went and got her general, and then she went and got her extra. And the only reason she did it was as an intellectual exercise. And I can vouch for the fact that that's what she did. So she does get on the Foxy Ladies net on Monday mornings at 11, and that's about it. I think tomorrow night she may run the local club net here, so forth, but she's not too interested in radio, but she says it was really fun, and she learned a lot of stuff. And I tell you what I want to do is I want to see if I can reset here, because I got a little bit more to say. Okay, the wind generator. The wind generator is the Sea Breeze. It's exactly identical to the one Dave has. His is powder coated. Mine is not. And but it's identical unit. And I looked up the other day, and I've had it 15 years and never used it. Just hanging in the garage. So I thought, well, if it doesn't make a lot of noise, I don't know how noisy it is. But our wind, it starts making power at 6 mile per hour wind, 6. And puts out maximum at 26 mile per hour. And that's 200 watts, but it will do 300 watts tops if a real gust comes along. And it's got a regulator built into it, so all you do is just connect it to a battery. That's all. And so I thought, well, why not give it a try and see? So I'm going to mount it on the house. I do have information on the average wind flow here, but I can't remember what it is now, but it's more than 6. So it might trundle along and make a little bit, I don't know. Okay, that's all I had. This is N7KC Lee. Back to you, Dave. Go ahead.
KC, thanks for that. Let's go on to Bob, T9PQ.
Okay, let me get myself switched in here. Okay, hopefully that's going to show up. Make sure you do this up to date. Okay, well, I don't see it yet, but there we go. Okay, cool. First of all, why am I on echoing tonight? It's not just because I got a late start. When I put up my antenna as usual, and I barely hear the repeater, so there's something weird going on. I hope it's not in my cable. I suspect it might be, but it's a good cable, and I would hate to have that be the problem, because sometimes I'm fine, sometimes I'm not. I'm a bit marginal here, but I can't correlate it to anything. So I have no idea why that's happening. So moving on to Sparky, yeah, arthritis was the first thing I thought of, and I did actually take her to the vet. The vet said no, and a friend of mine who's a retired vet said no as well. She's just too young. She's 10 years old. And cats, unlike dogs, if they are indoor cats, which Sparky essentially is, she goes out to the deck only, and otherwise doesn't, basically no concern about other animals or cars or things like that. They tend to live well into their late teens before they start to have serious health problems. I mean, there are exceptions, of course, but that's something like arthritis is not likely to come along for a little while yet. Let's see, what else have I got? Oh, and she is getting better, slowly. Boy, it took a long time, so that did throw me, because I thought after getting to the vet, I thought, I'll give it a few more weeks and she should be fine. It's been about 3 to 4 months, and she finally seems to be pretty much back to normal. Not even completely back to normal, but getting there. Dave, I'm not surprised about the Tesla being totaled. I saw a YouTube series by a reputable car review group.
Your audio, Bob. K9PQ, K9PQ, this is KD7CYM. And this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, and I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Well, let's go on to Richard, K7ITX, and get back to Bob when he gets on the air.
PQ, timeout. N7KC, timeout. Okay, let's see, trying to get the internet going here again, but, something went haywire, with YouTube and, let's see here. Yeah, let me, okay, Bob, Bob's doing something, or maybe, I don't know. Yeah, okay, that worked. And let's try this. Okay, come on, baby. Just trying to get the screen back. I saw Bob, but, okay, here we go, made it. All right. So, what I'm trying to do is get squared away and show you this other piece of video from the Kite Festival. Stand by. K9PQ connected. N7KC. ship kite or some kind of, tall ship kite that eventually did pretty good, I thought, pretty high up, and it stayed for quite a while. Looked like quite the challenge, in that first video I showed you, but eventually I thought, whoa, he's got it up, and now he can sit down and relax and enjoy the afternoon, not have to be fiddling around with it and just watch it up in the sky. So anyway, I just thought that was pretty weird. So I thought you might find it as odd as I did. With that, KD7ZYM, K7ATS, back to net control.
TX, who would think flying a ship in the air? Well, let's go to Jim, N7QO.
Thank you, Dave. Well, Dick, that's pretty cool. The second picture you saw from that angle, it almost looks like a Fokker triplane to me, kind of like the Red Baron or something. I was wondering, okay, when's Snoopy going to come and dogfight that thing? That's pretty cool. I was hoping you could get some video of it of that altitude. Thanks. Let's see, Jim, Bob said something weird's going on with the audio. Not sure exactly what you were asking, but I'm on my HT and I have it plugged into an antenna up in the attic. So I used to be able to do this repeater without any trouble using just a stub antenna, but and lower power, but doesn't seem to be working all that well within the past, I don't know how long, couple of years maybe. But anyway, that's what I'm doing. Let's see. Dave, you said temperature, I've got 79 degrees here and 79 in the shack as well right now. Talking about enlightening oneself, I enlighten myself via television. I sometimes watch the Three Stooges, and that refreshes my brain, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it clears it. I don't know. I'm a simple guy. Anyway, Ron, I treated my engines as well. We were talking about different products, STP, Slick 50. There was a product called Rizlone, Reset. Traded 3 cars with a Teflon-based product called Microlon, and that was supposed to be a one-time only treatment. The one car I had 34 years before we got rid of it. The other car we had 22 or 23 years before we got rid of it. And then I still have one vehicle now, but it's only 30 years old. So anyway, I am curious though. Our new car is supposed to use synthetic oil only. So I would imagine any non-synthetic oil would probably not be suitable for that. I'll have to do some thinking about that. I haven't really given that much thought. So thanks everyone for all of the discussion about this lubrication. That's kind of worth looking into. And wind generator, Seabreeze, 200 watts. Yeah, I need to do something around here. I don't really have, I've got a backup generator, but other than that, if the generator decides not to work, I just have an HT and a flashlight, I guess. Oh well. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
It's ID time. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. Dave, K7CY. Let's go to Dave.
one of the funny items, that's what they actually called them during World War II. It was called a flail tank. And it was a tank with a big giant, looked like roller pin out in front of the tank with chains hanging off it, and it would rotate very rapidly and beat the ground in front of it to try and get rid of all the mines. So that's, in your case, they're trying to get rid of the snow and ice in front of the tire. So maybe that's where they got that idea. And for Richard, another question is the windmill an omnidirectional wind generation device? In other words, can the wind come from any direction and spin it? Is it some design like a barrel with fins on it, or does it have to turn into the wind like a propeller, or does it have to face the dominant direction? I'm kind of curious about the design. Maybe that's something for a picture. School buses. I looked into school buses at one point, and the only way I could figure out how this made any economic sense is if your house was across the street from the school bus depot. You end up taking four rides a day. You go to the school bus depot, get the bus, take the kids, go home, do something else, and then when it's time to pick the kids up again, you go back to the school bus depot, get the bus, and do your thing, and then put the bus back. So I could even see maybe, I don't know exactly where you would park a huge school bus in front of your house or something, but no, you take it back to the depot. And also the level of, Jessica has educated us on this, the level of expertise is more than you think for a school bus, just like it is, for the things Jessica drives. And your level of responsibility is incredibly high, and it just kind of tickles me that for a regional, transport pilot, you get paid a certain amount, but you don't get paid nearly that amount for a school bus. And I always kind of wonder, why not? I guess it's just because you don't. See, a brand new Jaguar, someone leased one, and never opened the hood, only found the hood latch yesterday. She is very much a person who, her father said, if you drive my vehicles, you have to learn to maintain them. And what he meant by that is things like changing oil and water, changing oil filters, changing oil, and changing out even things like water pumps and spark plugs and such. A very knowledgeable individual for engines, and she had to laugh when she opens up the Jaguar hood. It's solid plastic. The only reason they even have a hood that you can open up, I think, is just because people expect that on a car. Because she said there's a couple little holes in the plastic where theoretically you could put fluids in, but the computer tells you when to go do everything, and because of the situation, she has to go back to the dealer. That's not a choice. So I thought that was kind of funny. She said there were leaves under there on top of the plastic she blew off, but there's nothing you can see. It's just a solid piece of plastic. So that's where cars are going these days. Thank you very much for the videos of the airship. That's a very clever design. I agree with Jim. It looked like a Fokker tri-wing, and someone, put a ship where the airframe, the rest of the airframe is. So that was also very clever. And a question I have for the group is, do people change their own oil, or do people go to like a Jiffy Lube type place? If so, where do you go? Because I have a Honda Civic, and the only thing that's causing you to procrastinate is you pretty much have to jack up the front end a little bit. There's just not enough room to get under there. And you have to take out a couple of screws and remove a protection plate before you even get to where the filter is and where the oil drain is. I'm sure it's like anything else. Once I do it once, it would be easy, but right now it seems like a lot of work, and I'm just paranoid about getting under cars that are jacked up. So anyway, any ideas on that, let me know. WW7N in Northeast Bellevue.
7N, thanks for that. Well, I can recall, this is Dave, KD7CYM. I can recall when I was in high school, one of my buddies had a Model A or a Model T, and it started smoking off the tailpipe. And at that time, there was something called mystery oil, and so we put mystery oil in it, and that seemed to take care of the problem. I don't know what mystery oil had in it, but it solved the problem with the Model T or Model A, whatever vehicle it was, model. So mystery oil is probably still a mystery. So this is Dave, KD7CYM. So let's go up to Ron, KD7QKU.
Okay, mystery oil, all right. Once upon a time, they made something that was like a pill, and you were supposed to take the spark plugs out. I think he had to get the motor hot, take the spark plugs out, drop a pill into each cylinder, screw the spark plug back in, and then start the engine up. And it was supposed to do some magical thing that made it like new again. So I don't know if anyone ever tried that. And James, yeah, no, they have car ramps. You know, they're not too expensive. You drive your car up on the ramp. Now, I changed my own oil for years and years and years, but I guess the last couple of cars we've had, I haven't changed the oil. I just take it back to the dealer. And they go so far now, goodness sakes. I mean, I don't know how many thousand miles. 6,000 or 8,000, maybe 10,000 miles between oil changes. I think we've only changed the oil in this Jeep twice. It tells you when it needs the oil change. So it's got about 19,000 miles on it, I think. I think the oil's only been changed twice. So it goes a long ways between oil changes. Kids and school buses. Oh my golly, I could never think I could handle kids on a school bus. I think it'd drive me nuts. Unless you could drive with maybe, earmuffs on or something, so you couldn't hear them. Especially, I don't know if there was any age that would be decent to haul around. The big kids would drive you nuts, and the little kids would drive you nuts. So I don't know. If you could strap them in the seat, and then put a gag on them or something, maybe you could do it. James liked that one. So I don't know. I guess I always admired people that drove kids around, but I never wanted to do that. Okay, I guess I didn't make very many notes, but I guess that's enough. What time is it? Yeah, back to that KD7QKU.
7QKU. Let's go to Jessica, KS7UHK.
Thankfully, I don't have to maintain my own bus other than check it out and make sure it has lugs on the wheels and make sure there's no flat tires before I take off, and I do a little checklist because we have folks that do the fueling, the cleaning, the repair, all of what we call the bus barn, what I call the bus barn, and they have a big maintenance reader board that has things going by showing you what buses have what's going on. One's waiting for a windshield from some company, one's getting a lube job or whatever, so you can always see what conditions of all the buses that you kind of would like to drive, even though you don't have a choice. They assign them to you. Three Stooges. I don't watch Three Stooges so much. However, I do watch Gilligan's Island every now and then, just because I think they're silly and fun. They're fairly well written on certain ones. Some of them are just stupid. The first season is probably the best. The picture behind me is from a Sven Gulli show this last week called The Land Unknown. It was a place they found in the Antarctic that was 3,000 feet below sea level, and so it was a very, very fun movie, very silly old movie. And lastly, my Ford F-150, I take it to the dealer because I think it has warranties on it. And also there used to be a thing called Motor Medic, and I can't remember the name, but it's somebody's Motor Medic, and you pour the stuff into your oil if you had rings that needed repairing just a bit because they were starting to smoke. KF7UHK.
N7KC before the net bolt.
Okay, well, fun that. 7-3, guys. Good to see you all. I'll see you for a few minutes afterwards. This is N7KC in Port Angeles. Go ahead, Dave.
Lee, and thank you all for joining the net this evening. It went by pretty fast. We have a few people there. It drags on if you only have one or two, but when you got a full house, it makes it a lot more fun. We'd like to thank the owners and operators of the 08 Machine Z-TAC Repeater Association for allowing us to use the 08 machine for voice transmissions for the nets held on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave, KD7CYM, signing off the net. Good evening at 9 o'clock.